What's up? It's Lit Book Reviews. I'm two lamb coops. With me is four lamb trucks. And this is the podcast where we discuss all things books. And we're here to do yet another one for all of our listeners. That today we are discussing the final book in the First Law trilogy, Last Argument of Kings by Joe Abercrombie. So we're just going to dive right in. We finally finished the trilogy. We started it, I don't know, like a month or so ago, beginning of the year.
Yeah, we
And read
finished it
some other
quick.
stuff in between. So this is the first, series of the year we finished, right? We haven't, yeah.
It is.
Yeah, so completed our first series of 2025 with Joe Abercrombie. It's Andrew's second read through. It was my first, and it was a really good time. So first we'll talk non-spoilers, just rate it, and I guess rate the trilogy overall. I mean, what'd you give this one, man? Last Argument of Kings out of 5 on the old Goodreads.
Dude, it's so much better the second time. I wish I would have actually done like an in-depth review on Goodreads before when I read it. Just so I could kind of gauge what I thought first time reading it, to compare. Because it's been a while. So, I mean, I remember loving it after the first time, but I feel like I definitely appreciate it more. And I feel like that says something because I've read a lot more fantasy now. Because this is one of the first series that I ever read, like after Jade City. So,
Foundational.
But dude, I love it. I mean, so much of it, I think I have more of appreciation because this is non-spoilerly, but it is not like any other fantasy with the way he ends stuff, with the way he does plot. And so at first it can feel like, oh, nothing's happening in this book. But then obviously, would you say like, I guess if for some reason someone's watching this and they've never even like read the first book, compared to the first book, where I know if you haven't seen our video, you felt like it was almost like a prequel, right? Like that not much happened.
Yeah, it just felt like not a ton happened, dude. I mean, this book is way different. I mean,
Yeah.
the second one
Yeah.
was better
Okay.
than the first one, in my opinion, but this one
Yeah.
was like, I mean,
But
it
do you
literally
see?
gets
Does it
twice as
make
good
sense
with
though?
every book. Oh yeah, I mean, I would not change it. Like
Yeah.
reading the whole trilogy, I wouldn't want the first book to be any different because the way he builds towards
Sets up.
everything is it just doesn't need anything else to make it better. Like it is what it
Yeah.
is. And the fifth book was amazing, dude. It was so good. It's
Third book.
not
Yeah.
at all like the first book where I felt like, not a ton happens. I mean,
Yeah.
everything is just is stuff happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
And his
gave it 5
ability to
stars,
just
man. It was great.
finish some things, but then not finish others, and it's like
Yeah.
the irony of it is great. So I mean,
Oh,
again,
yeah.
non-spoilers, but he does a lot of things that I think a lot of other authors just don't have. I think you literally phrased it that he's just got nuts, dude.
I mean, for sure, dude.
That other authors are just not. I don't know if it's catering to an audience, maybe the other authors have in mind. Whereas you can tell Joe it's almost like he doesn't care, which
Yeah.
makes it so much better. Because there's real stakes, and it's just
Yeah.
so like, wait, what is gonna happen? Like, I know
Yeah.
something's gonna happen, but like, or well, maybe nothing happens. I don't know, but
Well, it's the
anyway, yeah, I
pinnacle
love it.
of like no one is safe, and also like nothing's really, there's obviously drama to it, but nothing feels dramatized. Like when
Yeah,
someone dies in this story, it's back to the
they're dead.
mud and we move
Yeah,
on. Like, and it's, and no one's safe. I mean, people died throughout the series, and like you said, the only thing that is predictable is that things aren't going to end in any kind of way that you could guess, because it's going to be open ended in some kind of way. There's not going to be, dude, I did not
yeah,
expect after the first two books, the way they ended, I did not expect any, anything to be tied up. I mean, there's even, well, I'm not going to say that, but there is closure for certain plot points for sure. But it still feels like, oh, there could be a book right after this, but there's just
yeah,
not. And it leaves
yeah,
it in a way. And again, not to say that he just like has entire things that go unanswered in a bad way. It's like the
yeah.
style that you come to expect from Joe, at
It's
least
closure in
from reading
Joe's
the
way.
first two.
It's
Yeah.
not like, oh, I need another page, but it's yeah, it's weirdly what you expect from him, but at the same time, it still kind of gets you. But again, you're just reminded with this book, his characters, dude, are just so good. There's not a single
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think of another book where, bro, I mean, name a POV you don't like. Maybe Pharaoh, but
Oh,
even
there's not
Pharaoh's
one.
become really interesting. Like, I'm trying to think
No,
of who the
yeah.
weakest one is, and even the weakest one is not weak at all. Whereas I'm trying to think of another, like Lightbringer felt a little bit like that, but there are POVs that we don't really care for, and
As
there's
much,
ones that
yeah.
are like make up for it and they're amazing. But I mean,
Well,
in
I
so
think
many
the Stormlight
storylines,
Archive is like a good.
oh gosh,
Obviously,
there's
it's a
so
much
many.
bigger series with a lot of characters, but there are POVs in those books that are just not it. That are not
Yeah,
near as enjoyable as the rest of the book. And this book's not like that at all. The second book isn't either. The first book I could have made an argument about maybe one or two characters had some moments that weren't that great, but I mean, especially this book. I mean, dude, it was so good. I mean, I
yeah.
couldn't put it down. Whenever
And
I
there's
had
not
the
a
chance
chapter
to
when you
read.
see whose POV it is where you're like, ah. If
No.
anything, if you're like wanting to know what's going on because maybe you get left on a slight cliffhanger with the previous one, but um, yeah, I mean, I don't see
Yeah.
how this is a book where I feel like it'd be impossible to get stuck on. Like, it's like, oh, I just can't get through it. Like I'm
Yeah, if
at a
you've
weird
especially
point.
if I mean, naturally, if you've read the first two and enjoyed them, this one's gonna be
Yeah,
the first two on crack. I
100%.
mean, it's
Yeah,
crazy. Again, in the style of Joe, it's not a Sander Lanch-esque thing, or anything like that, but obviously there is a climax and all that good stuff,
were
but
there
it's just
some?
like you said, the character work that has built obviously, a lot of what is driving this final book is plot and even some world building and stuff that we haven't gotten a ton of in the other books.
Yeah.
So there is that driving it, but it's only, or at least in part, only so good because of all the character development you've got. We'll get more
Oh yeah.
into it in spoilers, but there are certain characters in this book that just, it's crazy. Like my favorite character, who to me this series is really about, it's just, I mean, dude, his POVs are so good. I mean, it's masterful. And every character is like that though. I mean, Glocta, Logan, Jazal, like they're all like that. They're
Really,
just at this,
really
it
make an
feels
argument.
like it's Joe in his bag, like at
Yeah.
his finest in this book.
How many? I mean, would you say you were got by some of the twists?
Oh, for sure. I mean, looking back, like some of them, well, one in particular, it almost feels like I should have guessed it, but yeah, there's for sure twists that I was not prepared for, and some
Some
were
of them are
like
kind
more
of
subtle than
subtle.
others.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Wow.
Some of the subtle ones just hit, dude. We're like,
Yeah,
mm,
yeah. So we can get in and talk about what we want to. Non spoilers. Like if you're here and you've read the first two books, obviously read the third one. It's the best
yeah,
one. If you haven't read this series at all, I haven't read a lot of Grimdark, but this feels like Grimdark, like peak.
yeah,
The writing and the character development is so good. And then if you're like me and you more often get more enjoyment out of the world building and stuff, you even get that the more you get into the books, the further you
yeah.
get into the story. So you even get stuff like it's so good. I would recommend this series to really anyone, especially if you're
Mm.
into fantasy or fiction. So I
It's
assume you'd
got
say
me
the same.
hyped for the next trilogy as well. I've read all the standalones, but I've told Jess, I'm sure I've said it a little bit on here too, but we've talked about how they kind of explore other regions. So you get a little bit more world building because you're going to get different countries that you've heard of, but it's not the Union for the most part. There may be Union characters, but and then there's some Easter egg things there too. With how this book ends, I mean, you got to read. Unfortunately, all of the standalones.
I mean, that's not
Um,
unfortunate. I'm ready for it.
oh no, it's not. They're so good too because you could literally just pick any of them and read them, and as themselves, they're so good. But I'm ready for the. It's all kind of side quest stuff, but it's still like obviously because all the characters are so interesting. You're still locked in, but it's just not grand scheme kind of things. It doesn't seem.
Yeah.
And I'm curious because I have read those. Maybe they do bleed into the second trilogy. I don't know. But just reading the synopsis of book one of the Age of Madness, I'm like, yeah, let's
Yeah,
do
I
it.
read it too. I'm hype.
Let's
Yeah.
go ahead and do this.
Or are
So
you yeah, the A Little Hatred, that's the first one?
a little hatred, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. In that trilogy. I'm excited too. So definitely read the first law. It's great and renowned for a reason. So if
yeah,
you haven't read it or for whatever reason you don't want to hear spoilers, check out. But dude, just to jump right into it. Okay, first of
yeah.
all,
What's the first thing
I feel like
on
I have a
your?
few things that I just need to pop off on and then we can delve into them individually. So first of all, this book series is about Jazal Dan Luthar. That's who this series is about.
Okay.
He, to me, like,
It's
it
not about
feels like,
bias.
well, yeah. So I'll get into that. So to
Okay.
me, Jazal feels like the way Adolin felt in book 5, except like especially in the last book for Jazal, it just felt like this book has been, as far as the character development goes, like it feels
Yeah.
like the story is about
Well,
him
he has
character
so
wise,
much development. Like, I mean,
just
his
so much.
development is the most positive, I guess.
Yeah.
Or
So
he comes
okay,
far.
the other thing out is what you just said, Baez. I mean, bro, Baez is the villain of this story. Like he's presented as Gandalf, and he is Sauron or
Yeah.
Saruman, whatever you prefer.
Either one,
Dude,
yeah.
the end with him when he says, when he starts using the seed when Pharaoh is holding it, and then he says it works. I mean, it was terrifying. It was like, bro, he's
Yeah.
ready to destroy this city, and it's
Yeah.
crazy the way Abercrombie sets it up because I don't know, man. Like, obviously, it does feel like Baez is the villain, but so are the Eaters, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, which evil do you prefer?
Yeah. It's all power, man.
But and then obviously Glockta, dude. I mean, the thing that stands out to me the most from Glockta in this book is that dude almost died so many times, and his
Yeah.
internal dialogue every time. I don't care how many times it happened. I was eating up his internal dialogue when he thought he was about to die. Like it was
Yeah.
just so good. Um, dude, Logan killed Toll. Logan killed Crummick's son. Like, bro, the bloody nine,
Those were
as you
tough.
said,
Those were
he
tough, dude.
nined. Like
He be nining, dog.
he nined hard, bro.
He keeps that
It was
9 on him.
crazy. And not only that, dude, but it feels like he almost has a regression
Oh,
on
I was
purpose
literally
in
gonna
character
say.
development. So
Well, it's
that's
he
wild.
removes himself from the North, and you see, it feels like it's like, man, why is he trying so hard to be a good person? Like he seems like a great guy. And then
Yeah.
there's even the moment where he looks at Luther or Gisald on Luther, and it's like, am I a good person? And he goes,
Yeah.
"You're the best guy I know." And it's like, and then it just ends. That chapter ends, and
Crazy.
it's like, you get nothing. Like it's like, dude,
Yeah.
Joe is such a savage for doing that. Because
Yeah.
it's like, what did Logan think? And it's like, you kind of already know. It's like, he's probably even more disappointed because he feels maybe like he's a liar, or maybe it reassures him a little bit. You don't know. But I mean, yeah, bro, he leaves and goes to a place where no one knows his name, and he does better. And then as soon as he gets back, I mean, he's got a 9, bro. The 9's got a 9, dude.
The nine
Shivers is
has to
looking
nine
at
at
him, and
some
he's
point.
like, I unfortunately have to 9 right now. And I mean, it
I
just
mean, and
is what it is.
Shivers at the end was like, I don't want to see him nine again. I'm
Yeah.
out. And he leaves
He's
Black
kind of
Down
full
those other guys.
circled. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
has a
seeing
little.
Dow or not Dow, but Dogman kind of snap at the end is sad, bro. It's
Dude,
not
oh,
the ending you
that's the other
want for
thing I
them.
had. That's the other thing I had
You
down
go,
about
yeah.
Dogman is the final thing with him was just
Ugh.
like you leave him and he's just angry and pissed off.
And
And it's
he's
like,
kept his
dude,
cool
that
the whole time.
I know he's been like the calm, collected character, and he's just angry and like fed
Grim
up
was
with
that last
life at the end
straw.
of the story. And you hate it because you've seen all this development that turned into regression with Logan, and you wish he would like say something. Like that's been his whole thing that he's trying to be better about is like the way he connected with Jazal and all that stuff. You'd think someone like Dogman,
Yeah,
like he would say something, but and then you had Pharaoh. I was just going through the POV characters really quick.
yeah,
I mean, Pharaoh felt a little less like character development in this one and more like plot device, not in a bad
yeah,
way,
true.
but
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was sick. Her involvement in the end was having her POV
yeah.
of Baez was crazy.
Well, and then having to where it's weird because Logan regresses, but then there's moments where you're right. He verbalizes many times like he's trying to be better. And then
He
he
says
even,
verbally, a man can change.
yeah, and he
Like he wants
even
that.
kind of swallows his pride. And when he sees Pharaoh, like tries to like say something, even in his own way. But dude,
Hmm.
she's already touched the seed, so she's toast. I mean, she can
Yeah,
only just hear voices, and she's just schizophrenia now. And it's like,
it's crazy, bro. Yeah, I guess that's the ending too that I didn't mention. Is like, I mean, she's been absolutely got, bro. She's messed
she's
up.
got, she's toast. I mean, she's toast for sure. And anyway, the biggest twist that got me again, bro, and I was like, how did I not remember this? I mean, it's do you remember how it starts? How this series starts? Like the very like first thing you read about.
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm not like, what is that?
Salem Ruse, dude. He sends him off to England, and you
Oh,
forget.
okay, yeah. Okay, okay, I thought you were talking about something else. Yeah, okay,
Oh, yeah. I'm talking about Salem Ruse being Pike,
yeah.
and
Dude,
it's
that
like
I forgot who he was for a second. I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "Oh." I mean, that was
he. And the
wild.
thing is he. I will say, like doing it the second time, it's like, man, he's so good because there's so many times where Glock remembers all the times he kind of let someone go, or like how it starts off, and he'll mention Ruse, and then he'll mention like other like as he's like kind of going back in his own internal
Yeah.
dialogue to kind of refresh you on that name. Um, but for me, that hit again, and I'm like, but then he's
Yeah, that
able to
was
twist
good.
it around and use him, bro. He's able to use him, and
Mhm.
he's able to use the
I mean,
lady
for someone who
from
wants to die so
Dagestone.
bad, Glokta is a master of staying alive and utilizing his situation for his betterment. Like,
He's the
as
man,
pot
dude.
like, to the degree that he can with his
Well,
horrible
because
situation.
Severod and Frost, I mean, they betray him,
Dude,
bro.
that hurt, man, and that hurt
It hurt.
for Glokta. That hurt when he
It
says
was
the
tough.
line of, "One of them I expected, one of them I could have taken, but both of them," like, I was like, "Dude, that hurts so bad." Both of his practicals betrayed him. That was so tough, and we're doing our notorious thing of just jumping everywhere, but, dude, the biggest twist was Baez being Valiant and Balt
Bias,
what was
bro.
being the
Valiant Bonk.
bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the bank, and he's controlling everything, like,
Bro, tell
I
me how
mean
I forgot that as well. It's like, dude, there's so many little twists that happen. It's like you just kind of forget because you kind of get lost in like, oh, I just collect the characters. Like,
mm,
the first book, you're just like, hey, this is just a good time. And then you're like, oh, wait, stuff is happening. Like, stuff's happening
yeah,
behind the scenes, but it's just guys. It's like, this is just like a little chill story about something,
yeah.
about a fencing tournament. And then it's like, oh, wait, no. Bro, the
I
biggest
mean,
twist that I forgot too, man, Yuru basically being all of these people for Baez the whole time, and Yuru also breaking the second law, and Baez being like,
yeah. He was like, "I mean, you gotta use the weapons that your enemy's using or you're gonna
yeah,
lose."
as he's just
It's like,
roasting the
"Jeez,
second
dude."
lawbreakers, bro. And then also, again, this is notorious jumping around, bro. Him locking in what's his face into the Master Maker Tower. What's his name? The guy with the like bracelets on his arms that
Oh, you
Pharaoh.
what?
Yulway, that's tough. You
That
really
was
hate
so
to see that
tough,
from
man,
him.
and I knew when he told Pharaoh, I'll get him out of here," I was like, "No, he won't, bro. He's not getting him out of there." Because once he says it works, when he was using the seed after he destroyed a building to use it, I was like, "Oh, yeah, he's the bad
It's
guy."
over.
Like,
It's
he's
over.
Saruman, dude, like, he is, now,
He tasted
which when
power and
you
he wants
find
it.
out the true history of what happened, it still does kinda make sense. Because if I remember correctly, like, he killed Juvens and what's her name? The girl?
The
Tumio?
girl, yeah, he threw
Whatever
him
the
off the
daughter's name
tower
is,
or
he
whatever.
killed them
Yeah,
because they were breaking the first law.
yeah,
And so back then, you kinda get it, but now it's like, "Alright, well, now you're doing the same thing." So,
yeah.
it's just I mean, it was crazy, bro. I mean, Baez is a scary character. Like, when you
Bro,
get into the
the way he
universe of
talks
it,
to
like, it's scary.
Glotka and Jazal,
Yeah.
especially at the end, he kind of daddies Jazal bad.
Yeah,
Whereas
dude.
Glotka has more
Which,
social
bro
awareness, so he's like he doesn't take the disrespect, but you feel for Jazal, man. He's trying to do the right thing, but then it's like him hitting him with the but most of all you're a coward and that's why you're not going to do
Mhm.
anything is like
Yeah,
and
and
then
then when
for
he
Joe to
leaves,
confirm
Giselle
it.
is like, "I know that I know that he's right because the feeling I feel the most is relief." That Baez had walked out of the room, and it's just like but dude, I mean, bro, I love Giselle. Like, and I told you in the first book, I was like, "This man's being set up for a redemption arc." And what's crazy about it is the way Joe does it is obviously he has his mistakes throughout the series, but he is on a redemption arc and becomes a better person, but he can't do anything as a good person because he's in this hollow he's a king, but it doesn't really mean anything because Baez and now Glokta are really controlling him. So it's just wild to see him like try to do good things. He tries to help the common folk and all that, bring people into the palace for shelter. And then every like a lot of the stuff he does, Baez is just like, bro, no. We're not
Yeah.
here for the needy. All right, we're here
Yeah.
for me. Um,
Yeah.
but dude,
Mm.
I mean, Giselle was just great. I mean, he felt to me like in this book, I was like, bro, this feels like this whole series has been for his character development more than anybody's,
Yeah.
which
It's just
feels true
tough.
in the third book.
It does, but it's also tough, the reality of just realizing he's I mean, you know he's kind of a puppet, but then to see the severity of like how much of a puppet he truly is. And then on top of that, dude, for Glotka, for him, dude, it's like you see this progress, but bro, he's just so gullible. And you really see that
Yeah.
with his wife in the end, where she's just been not it the whole time. Obviously, Glotka finds out she's a lesbo, so he threatens her. And now just all's
Jeez.
like, we're good. Like everything makes sense. She's just homesick. Oh
Yeah,
my
dude, that
gosh. And
that
it's
part
like,
was so rough, and you feel even though you hate that character, his wife Therese, you feel bad for her in that moment. It's like, oh man, this is like super messed up. But dude, she was such a terrible person to
I
like
honestly don't feel bad
was
for her,
just
bro.
saying the
I
most
only feel bad for
blatantly
Giselle.
terrible things, like how he was lesser than because he was, a
Yeah.
bastard, and he
Which is
disgusted her.
what's tough is what Baez says too, that he maybe
Yeah, it's
not
like
even is.
you're
I
not
bought
even the
you
king's
from
bastard. Yeah.
yeah.
He's like, "You're just some orphan kid." Yeah, which is super
Yeah.
tough. I mean, Giselle's whole life is a lie, and now the one true thing in his life, his relationship with Artie, he doesn't even know, dude. Glocta doesn't even tell him that, like, I mean, Artie's
Artie's
pregnant
pregnant.
with Giselle's child, and he
Yeah.
doesn't even know. So I'm curious to see what happens in the next trilogy because, like, I mean,
That
they're
can't
both
be
going
a
to be
known
present in the
thing.
story.
Yeah, that can't be a known thing just with how Glotka leaves it with um I can't remember the dude's name on the closed council, the guy who's always drinking wine, where, he basically told him to kind of tie up that loose end. And
Hoff.
then instead of, yeah. And bro, the way he sets it up, Abercrombie, bro, he's just so good of a writer. Like, he's such a good writer, man, where it's like, all right, Giselle's or Glock is going to kill her. And it's like he grips the metal in his pocket and lunges. And she like
Mhm.
faints or whatever. And it's like, oh, he's got a knife. He's going to kill her. And it's like, oh, it's a ring. It's
Yeah.
like,
I didn't see that coming. I did not. Because I was surprised too, because I was like, "There's no way he's really gonna kill her." Like, I feel like it's his one friend he has left.
yeah.
Um,
Well, and then his
so yeah, that was
truly one
wild.
friend, we haven't
Oh,
talked about
West.
this at all. I mean,
We haven't talked
dude,
about West at all, man. I mean,
I
becomes Lord
mean,
Marshal. The way he plays General Polder and General Croy
is so good,
off each
dude.
other. It's that whole scene was so good. But yeah, dude, he's like he gets glocked by the end of the book.
Yeah, and I don't love that. That's like one of the few things where I don't get the purpose that it serves, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
You know,
it's just tough for West because he's just
it just seems unnecessary. Why does Wes have
yeah,
to go through that?
yeah.
And it is. It's brutal for West, and I like West. He plays a big role in this book, but then it's not. I feel like he plays a big role a bit like early, and then it's kind of just it
But it's
is what it
classic
is.
Joe, man. Like he's not getting to reap any of the rewards, getting none of the laurels of his like victory,
Yeah,
because he's in the sick bed, losing his hair and his teeth and all of his, you know, muscle membrane dying. Which that whole thing is like, I mean, that's like just sounds like radiation sickness from
yeah,
what Baez did, from
yeah.
using the seed, which was a cool touch. But dude, I hated it for West. I did too.
It really
I
is,
would have
dude,
to agree with you that if I could have changed something for a character, it might be that.
for sure. Dude,
It
we
feels like
haven't.
everybody else except Giselle really deserves what they got in the end.
Yeah, which I mean, what does Logan even get?
I mean, he's not dead. I refuse to believe it. I mean,
Did you see
so
that
what I
coming with
thought
the
you were saying a
little
minute
glide
ago, bro,
down?
was the way that
Oh, how I get is that how it
it
starts?
ends almost no,
It
it's
does
not,
start
but it
with
makes
Logan.
you well, it does, and it starts
I
with him
forget.
falling off a cliff into water.
Yeah,
And then the last book ends with him falling off a cliff into
yeah.
water. And so it's kind obviously it's not a that's not what's happening. It's not some trick of time, but it was just cool how he did that. But dude,
I didn't even realize that.
that was
What does
just
he
the
do?
fine
What's
dude, that was the
Giselle's first
final.
chapter? Is there a tie-in with Giselle, you think, too, where however he started, that's how he also ends? Does he start with gambling with the boys? And I don't think
Yeah,
he ends that
I
way.
think he's fencing. I think he's
He's
at
either
fencing
fencing or
practice.
he's gambling with the guys and then has to
I'd
go
have
to
to look.
fencing.
I'd have to
I guess
look.
it's not the same, but that would have been a cool tie-in just with, one of Glotka's last chapters being with Sailor Maroos and then whatever. But did you
Yeah.
see the whole Black Dow thing coming? I mean, what are your thoughts on Black Dow?
I mean, dude, I didn't see it coming per se. I mean, I knew something was going to happen because we were at the end of the book, and I was like, Joe's about to do something ridiculous at the end of this
Yeah.
book. Like Logan's about to just get his head chopped off or something. I don't know. But I didn't see that in particular. But once the situation started happening, I was like, oh, of course, bro. Of course, Black Dow. I mean, Black Dow, bro, was like the one of the group where I would just always think, like, bro, shut up. Like, shut up, Black Dow. Like
Yeah.
he's just like he's hardcore, and I obviously like him, and he does a lot of epic things. But then, the thing is like if Black Dow was the POV and Logan was Black Dow, I would feel that way about Logan. It's just because he's
Yeah.
not the POV character. When you really
And
look
he
at it,
he
everything he
changes
does is
when he
justified in
watches.
their world.
He changes when he sees Tull get killed by Logan. Not
Which I don't
that
even know if he saw it. I think he just
I guess
somehow
maybe
like
he just knows.
yeah, it didn't confirm that he saw it, but I guess maybe he'd have to really be that confident about it. Dude, that was one of the like most heart wrenching moments in the book because the way he does it is like Logan's starting to, friggin' transfuse into the bloody nine or whatever. And Toll like grabs his hand and he's like, I got you. And I can't tell if that was a moment of like, oh, I'm going to get you out from being trampled upon in this battle, or if it was like, hey, I'll stop you from turning into your Frankenstein personality or whatever. But he kills him immediately, bro. He stabs him in the throat while Toll's trying to help him in the middle of a battle. I was like, dude, I mean, it's just so ridiculous. And then 2 paragraphs later, he kills a child. He kills Crummick's son. I was just like, bro, all this character development, and you've been
The
like
nine going
regressing, and now
nine,
you're gonna nine like this, dog.
dude.
Dude, I thought so. Here's a prediction I have that I don't know if it would have been better to have it or not. But I thought there was a chance that Logan could potentially die this way, or it could just be some other form of a climax in the story. That he was going to get into a situation where you would think he has to bloody nine to get out of
And
this,
he
and
can't.
he would somehow fight it off and be like, "No, I'm not going to do that.
Uh,
Like, I'd rather die." And then either dies that way or gets like helped out by the dog man or
yeah.
something. I was like, "Dang it, dude! He's just going to bloody nine and kill
Go
a kid."
nine.
Like, jeez, dude.
Well, what we haven't even talked about, bro, is the circle, the chapter titled "The Circle,"
Oh, where
where
he
he
kills the
fights the
feared.
feared. Yeah,
Oh, bro. I mean, that was so good.
there's some sick fan art of
I need to look
that
some up.
duel that's really good. But I mean, yeah, overall the entire story is just so good. There's so many like little, they almost feel like Easter eggs that will happen, but you know, I'm a fan. I'm a fan all the way around.
Massive fan.
Massive fan. I feel like there's a portion that we're really leaving out, and I can't tell what it is, but
I'm trying to think. I had a couple of notes here. I mean, I feel like
Jazal
it's.
becomes king, which is out
I
of
mean, yeah,
nowhere.
obviously. I mean, yeah, that the whole orchestration of that happening was
Glocka
very
taking down
obviously
Salt.
all Jazal just making that happen. But Glocta's perspective when that happens, and anytime he talks or sees Jazal, is so funny,
Yeah,
dude. I mean, he
it really is.
hates Jazal, bro. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean,
The whole Salt, he takes down Salt. So Salt in the academy
oh
or
yeah.
whatever, they're kind of
Which
on
I
to
don't even know if I
Baez a little
understand what
bit.
they were trying to do.
They were trying to touch the other side to somehow kind of take over Baez, I think.
They were trying to touch grass.
They were trying to touch grass, dude.
Aren't we all?
Aren't we all? Everybody gets punished. That doesn't help. I mean, obviously, what are they called? They get invaded, so they have to quickly leave, and that's kind of wild. And like the city gets ravaged, obviously, and then you
Yeah.
get kind of some more close up action with some eaters.
Yeah. I mean, we hadn't
I feel
really
like that's
talked
all at
about
the
the
end of the
fact
book.
that Glocta's like has this whole character arc where he's has too many masters essentially.
Yeah.
And the book ends with him being, you know, with him submitting to the ultimate master Baez, and how he rises to the top, but really his life hasn't changed because he's still just having to fault, like, do the bidding of a tyrant essentially.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy how that's one character, bro. There is no character development before. Like, Joe makes it very clear that this dude's the same. This dude is who he is, and he's not changing. He is going to
Yeah.
be this way. Like, there's no Glockta becomes a better man and finds, stops doing, stops torturing people or whatever. He
Yeah.
is who he is. And he's kind of stuck in it at this point, but
He
obviously
weirdly
there's
does like
some
let certain
development
people
with,
go
like,
though.
yeah,
Like
obviously he did that
the
with Ida, but then he doesn't. Then he kills her when she comes back.
No, he
Um,
doesn't. Ida?
oh yeah, he sends her to Styria. That's right. He
Yeah.
sends her to Styria.
He's got
That's right.
another tool in his pocket. He faints like he's going to. Um
That's right.
but I
And
don't
then
know. I
Artie,
mean,
obviously.
the whole Artie thing for him, and with Artie kind of leaning into just wanting to matter and like have a purpose. You know,
Yeah.
there's a couple of lines where Glotka, you can see he's leaving just enough of a door open for the potential, and like especially when
Yeah.
like he sees West like
Yeah. He's doing it
deteriorating, and
for
he acts
West at the
like
end of the
it's
day.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can tell like I mean maybe something happens there where he actually does end up caring about her, and I mean, who knows, bro? The fact that they're gonna have a daughter, and it's not his,
Who
but
knows? But he's still, dude, he's still the Glock doctor at the end of the day. He is.
he is. He 100% is. But I don't want to. I want to say that there's some slight art. It's crazy though how he's still such an interesting character, even though he kind of does the same things over and over again.
Yeah. I shouldn't say like he absolutely has no character development. I just mean that he is still who he was. Yes, he's grown a
Yeah,
tiny bit and learned things, but he's still who he is.
I
Whereas
mean for
Giselle
sure.
is not. Giselle has changed, very much.
Oh
Um, and then you have Logan, who was changed maybe in book 2 and is now really who he was. That's the way he does it. Is he's really who he's been for the majority of his life. We just haven't seen that in this
yeah,
story
and
until
he
this
can't
book,
escape
really.
it. I mean, unfortunately, with the way the whole Northmen live their lives and the whole how important names are, and then the
Yeah.
stories and the lore behind that.
And at the end of the day, you know,
The nine
nine's
got
gonna
nine,
nine.
bro.
Somebody's got to do
The
it.
nine is gonna nine, brother. I mean,
uh,
him like laughing in the circle. I mean,
was
it's
crazy. He's fighting
it,
like an Urukai on steroids, and he's just laughing.
exactly. I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, you do feel for Dog Man. He does feel like
Mhm.
he's in a not great spot. I mean,
When
it
he loses
truly is
everybody.
Grim. Yeah, the loss of Grim,
Oh, we haven't
who's
even
kind of the
talked about the
last
loss
one.
of Graham,
It's
bro.
tough, dude. It's just tough.
I've always loved our talks. Dude, that hurt so bad when he said that to Dog Man. When he was like, the Bloody Nine should have killed me and he didn't. Everything since then has been a blessing. I've always enjoyed our talks. It was just like, bro, what? That's the most he said in the entire series, and it
Yeah.
just breaks you. So it makes sense why Dogman is the way he is. Like, that broke him. That final death of one of his friends. But it just makes you so sad for him, bro. Like, he's been such a cool dude, and now he just hates everything.
He's been the definition of a trooper, like through and
Yeah,
through. And
for sure.
I mean, Joe just has a sick way of just being like,
He's a Dark
doesn't
Knight,
matter.
man. Fire rises.
I mean, literally everyone is a Dark Knight in this series in their own way.
Oh yeah, even
Other
Baez,
than
bro.
I mean, yeah, Baez is
Baez
it,
had
I
to put in some
guess.
work. He almost got like a few times.
That is
So he
what's
did have to
crazy
put in
about
work.
Baez is there's so many times where he's so weak and could easily die.
Yeah.
And he
Which I
doesn't.
like that about the Magic system, dude. There's no Superman, there's no Odium. Like,
Yeah.
everybody's really like got, limitation. There's only so much they can really do. So you have to be like Baez and have years of planning and, like,
Well, especially
resources stored
because
up.
I feel like if he goes head to head with one of these eaters, he's toast. Like as far as if he can kill a couple off rip, but then after that, if you have 100 of them and you spread
Dude,
them
them
out to
being
where he
called the
can't just
100 words was
that was
sick, bro.
sick. That
I
was
don't know
sick.
why, but calling 100 eaters the 100 words is terrifying.
That was good.
Like when
That
he
was a
was
good
like,
name.
"Yo, the 100 words are in this city. Most of them are here, but a few are doing some other work." And the way he like talks like about like they have this holy like kind of jargon to them. That was creepy, man. And dude, the way I pictured them coming down into the throne room or whatever they were in the
Yeah.
house of the maker, the way he described that was really like scary. I kind of pictured it like it was, you know, a Denis Villeneuve movie. Them coming down in that creepy way he described. I was like, dude, I'm not trying to fight the 100 words.
Oh, heck no, dude.
But yeah,
I
Bias
mean,
couldn't have
they're
done it with. What was he gonna do if Pharaoh hadn't? That was one thing I didn't fully understand, bro. What happened when Pharaoh found the seed? Did Bias know she was gonna find it?
yeah, because he wouldn't have been able to touch it really. I think he was just gonna maybe go look and then maybe go get her, and then or maybe he just knew she
But
was
like,
gonna
how did she
follow.
find it? Didn't it like call out to her or something? I can't remember how
She
she
heard
ended
it.
up
Yeah, it's
finding
like the
it.
orb that's like in the middle of the tower that everything's revolved around. So it doesn't really look like the seed, and when she touches it, it like falls and then shrinks down to
That's
like the
right.
rock or whatever
I
that
think I
it
kind of
is.
zoned
So
out when I read that part because I
there's a
got to
lot
where
going
she
on.
had the seed and I was just kind of like, wait, how did she just find this all of a sudden?
Well,
Was
that
this the
happens, and
plan?
then Kwai is not Kwai. We haven't talked
Dude,
about
we
that.
forgot about Kwai, bro. I mean,
Kwai been
we
gone
talked about
since.
in book 2 how something
I
changed
forgot
obviously
about
in
that,
him.
to be honest, too. Like I forgot that
Dude, I
that
forgot he
is
was
the
in the
twist.
book for like 100 pages and then he just shows up again and he's like, "The seed." I was like, "Oh, dude, I forgot Kwai was here, man. What has he been doing
Yeah,
all quiet?"
and now you know why. And
I
it's like
also
she
thought the
killed
dude
him.
taking over what's the guy's name that starts with the M? And that sulfur guy took his body like a
Morovia.
yeah, Morovia. He took Morovia's
Yeah.
body. I thought that was kind of
For a,
cool.
well, for a second, I forgot too, and I'm like, wait, Morovia is a hidden
A wizard? Like, what is
like
this?
he's hidden, like
He's
he's
going
been in
Super Saiyan?
hiding. Yeah, and then it's like, oh no, it's just Yuru or whatever his name is. But yeah, I
It's
thought maybe
just a
he was like a
conjure,
hidden
bro.
eater
Like,
or
come
something.
on.
But no, yeah, it's funny how he baits you in with like the nothing happens first book, and then kind of ramps it up second book with the journey where the journey is for nothing, and then defined it. I mean, it's just there's so many ironies of this book of
Yeah.
them not even needing to go on a journey and him finding going into the master maker house to get the box that it goes in to then go on a journey to leave.
Yeah.
It's the irony
And
of
it
it's
was
crazy.
just in there the whole time.
Yeah. Long what do you think about I mean Longfoot getting captured and getting tortured, dude? I think it's hilarious to be honest.
Oh, dude, he deserved that, bro. He needs
His
to learn how to shut up.
dude, the way he talks, man, is so funny to me. The narrator
Yeah.
in the audible does such a good job, man, of making him sound like so annoying and pathetic anytime he talks.
I don't think
It's
I ended
funny.
up audibling probably maybe 10% of this book, like just randomly, a handful of chapters. I don't think I ever
Mm,
heard Longfoot, but dude, Glockta is like, I mean, Glockta's,
perfect.
when he's narrating Glockta chapters, it's peak
No, it's
audible.
Glockta. It's 100% Glockta.
Yeah.
Um, dude, he kind of gets into his literary bag again later on when everything's kind of going down and he's switching POVs mid chapter between like Glotka and West and some others where he'll
Hmm.
end with a phrase and then start with the same phrase. Like he just you
Yeah.
can tell where he's just like, hey man,
He's
let's
feeling
try some stuff.
himself. He's
Yeah, and
taking
it's like, all
liberties and
right,
they work.
yeah, it's fun, dude. It's fun that he
It
does
is
stuff like
fun.
that to me.
Well, and the way
Where
I
it's
was
like,
going to
yeah, you
end
haven't
what
done
you
this at
just said
all.
is you said the first book, it feels like not that much happens. The second book, they go on this long journey just for it to essentially be for nothing. And then the third book, shit just hits the fan like crazy, like in every way possible. It's like it
Yeah,
felt like Joe was like, "All right, now we're gonna do like the slightly epic medieval fantasy bit and go on a ride for basically a
yeah,
whole book." So that the payoff of that too, there's so many different levels of payoff, which is crazy to say because there's also so many open-ended things, but
yeah,
the levels of payoff is like you said, it's fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed these books. I mean, that's what you want out of these kind of books is just to have like a good time, and they're definitely that. I mean, his internal dialogue is just great, and it's it's nice to have something like this as like a different, just a different in comparison to like Stormlight,
It's so different,
Sanderson's type
yeah.
of dialogue. It's just nice to see a different kind of world, and in
It's a
a
little
lot of
bit of a
ways much
realism.
more relatable dialogue, especially from
Yeah,
characters like Jazal, or Dogman. Like it's just
Dogman for
so much
sure.
more relatable than someone who's just honorable 24/7 or whatever, which I'm not.
Yeah.
That's not what Sanderson does. That's not what I'm saying. But compared to this, it can feel like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's more showing the flaws that we all have and like why they're there and how
Yeah.
sometimes
Well,
it's
dude,
tough to
and
get away
he
from them.
he paints it on the wall with Logan's character. Logan's constantly saying you have to be realistic, and Joe's just like, don't forget, like, anything can happen in real life. But then I also loved how at one point in the book, and I don't know if you can remind me of the context, but at one point, and I texted you about it, when Logan says, uh, I guess there's such thing as being too realistic at one point in the book. I thought that was kind of just another, I don't know, it felt like Joe was kind of saying something where it was like, you can take this too far. You do have to,
Yeah.
it does need to be like, I don't know, it felt like kind of like a
Was that when he
commentary kind
was
of on his own work.
I wonder if that was when he was referring to how Bethod called himself King of the North and now he was calling himself King of the North. I can't remember if that was it or not, but or when he's referring to like how him and Jazal are now kings when like they shouldn't be. Um Maybe not then either, but
We didn't really talk about that though with him after he killed the Feared. He bashes Bethod's head into the
I mean
side of a wall
I don't
over and
know what
over again.
Bethod thought he was doing getting
Bethod's
that
just
close to
yelling
the
as
nine, bro.
if he's not about to get nined.
And I'm
Like,
like, dude, you're after he just took down the Feared, bro. He acted like it was not like it didn't matter. I mean, what a bad decision. What a terrible decision to try and use like the authority card or like just the
yeah, that was crazy. But
not
that was one of the
authority, but he's
twists
trying to make it feel
also.
bad.
Well, that was one of the twists kind of also, which you still know that a lot of people throughout the series have talked about how they don't like Bethod. So he's still not a great guy. But when Logan starts talking to him about how Bethod's such a bad guy, Bethod's like, "What are you talking about, bro? You're the one that always wanted to murder everybody when I would try to like make peace. You were the one that always said the bloody nine's gonna bloody nine, or whatever the
Yeah.
line is." So I thought that was interesting, true, because Logan's like, "That's not how it happened." Like that's how it felt like he said it. He's like, "No," and it just kind of
Yeah.
feels like, from what I've learned about what you do when you bloody nine, I could see how Bethod might be telling the truth here.
Yeah. I think there maybe is even an internal dialogue thing where he admits it to himself. I don't think he verbalized it out loud, but I mean, yeah, it's that the Northmen, bro, their way of life's different for sure. So I
It'd be
mean,
different.
they'd be hitting different up there. But it's a it's one of those series again, like I said, like trying to compare it to Stormlight or Red Rising, it's just such an easy reread. Like, especially for Audible, like now that you've read it, like reading it again, it's only better. And it's such an easy read too. Like, I mean, we read so many other books and we finished this in a month, like a month and a half, roughly. And we read a bunch of other books in
Yeah.
between. Whereas, I mean, we'd be just finishing like the first Stormlight book. And again, it's good, but it's like as far as its reread ability, bro,
Yeah.
it's so up there, man. As far as like maybe it's not the greatest of all time. Like I'm not saying that, but as far as it just being so enjoyable to where you could just read it, it's like almost a comfort like book,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I could
just
see
because
that
there's
for
really
sure. I
not
could
any
definitely see
flaws.
enjoying a
Like when you
reread.
think about it, like what Joe's trying to do, I'm not sure what he could do better, to be honest. Like there's
Hmm.
so many good twists, and turns, and again, just each character is so unique, and you truly feel their voice and their motives so well. And you just feel
Yeah.
them. Like every single character, there's a moment where you're like, ah,
Yeah.
like you feel for each
You
character,
feel for, yeah. Yeah.
which is
For
so
sure.
tough to do. I feel like as an author, I mean, if you feel for one character, it's like, all right, that's hard. But to feel
Yeah.
for all of them, I mean, bro, it's tough. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
Baez you don't feel for,
No, I don't
but
feel bad for Baez. Dude, the one that
no,
you probably should feel worse for too is honestly Pharaoh, who we've talked about the least. I mean, like you said,
yeah.
bro. I mean, she's lost her mind because of holding the seed.
So does she just run away? I can't even remember where she ends.
She's sprinting back to Gurkle. She's getting on a ship and
Oh,
going
because
to
she puts
Gurkle.
it back. She puts the seed back in the
Yeah, she
box.
doesn't take the seed with her, even though it wants her to. She just wants to go kill Gurkish.
Mm.
Which hopefully, I don't know, maybe we'll hear from her again. I feel like maybe not, but hopefully if she
Yeah,
gets away from the seed long enough, she'll not be insane. But
yeah. We haven't
we'll
talked
see,
about
man.
Casca at all.
Oh yeah, he's a fun
Casca
character. I like
plays
Casca.
a light role in this dude. The audible, the narrator does like a wild voice for him. It's so unique. So he ends up being one of the main characters. I know I've said before, he's one of the main characters in I think 2 of the books, like where he shows up,
Yeah,
and then so
that'll
is
be
Carl
nice. I like
Shivers.
him.
Carl Shivers is
Oh, let's go.
dude, bro. The Carl Shivers about to 9, bro. He becomes
Let's go.
he got a
The
little
Bloody
9 in him.
King.
So, but yeah, he's kind of done. So he shows up in Styria, I believe, is the setting of Best Served Cold.
Yeah,
So
I'm looking forward
Duke
to getting into
Orso
those
is
for
in that one
sure.
as well. So you get a little
Mm,
cameo from him. So I will say, man, I wish I would have kind of read all of them like kind of back to back to back with each other, which I think I waited a year and a half maybe before I read any of the standalones. Um, just because there's the more time you leave after it, it's tougher. But um, anyway, but I'm excited for sure, man, to maybe reread some of the standalones and then also just jump into that trilogy, dude, because it's.
yeah,
I mean, I've only heard good things about it, so
yeah, yeah. I'm excited to get into it. I mean, overall, again, love this series. I believe in Abercrombie. I don't know that I have too much more to say about it. What about you?
yeah, that's it for me.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for listening. If you're still doing that for some reason, we're reading American Lion by John Meacham about Andrew Jackson. So check us out next time for some history, and we'll see you later, losers.
Goodbye.